recently redid the curriculum, and the lesson plan is very descriptive. So even if you haven't done figure drawing before, you go through this lesson plan and try it once on your own, and you'll see that it's very descriptive and should be able to help you get through the process very well. We start this class by talking about Leonardo da Vinci, because Leonardo da Vinci was like our patron saint of proportions. And when you're drawing the human figure, proportions, we use words like proportions, foreshortening. Foreshortening is when things come out at you, they look larger when they're closer to you. We talk foreshortening with the kids. We talk about overlapping. We talk about all these wonderful terms. They're all in here in the lesson plan. And so we start out the first lesson. Each one of these workshops, we start out with a little bit of a warm-up. In 4th grade, the kids are they're in this transition mode where they're going between being very young children and being very squirrely to being kind of sassy. So it's very important that we get them excited about the lesson and get them engaged. So we start out every one of these with a little warm-up that's kind of an engagement. And with this first lesson, we start out with having some bean bags, and we get a kid to lie down on the floor, and we say, outstretch your arms. We put a bean bag at one end and bean bag at the other end, and they go, okay. Leonardo da Vinci says that the height of a person's body is equal to the length of their arms. So then we have them turn, and sure enough, their feet and their head match that bean bag. And then they're all oohing and awing, and then they're like, oh, let's see more people. And then we do an adult. And we also remind them that since they're still growing, they might not be exactly these proportions that we're talking about. They might be a little bit less, but they're still growing. When you're about 5 years old, your head pretty much stops growing, but the rest of your body does. And that's why Leonardo da Vinci talks about using heads as a way of proportioning a person's body. So after we've done that beanbag thing, we also have a thing with little rope. And we go through things that Leonardo da Vinci talked about, different proportions, how the eyes match with the face. And we use the rope as a measuring tool. And they measure each other. And Leonardo da Vinci said that a body is 8 heads tall, between 7 and 8 heads tall. And we have them pair up, take the string, measure a head, and then go down the body and count how many heads everybody's is. At 4th grade, most of the kids are somewhere between 5 and 7. They're not yet 7 and 8 like a grown-up, and we talk about that. So now they've actually seen that in action, and now we're going to do the drawing. And this is the drawing that they're going to end up doing. It's very important to go through this step by step with the students. Do something with them, and then have them follow you, and then go on to the next step. And the first thing we do with them is we give them, we don't give them this big a paper, this is just for this part. We have them fold it in half, and we talk hamburger, and then we fold it again, and we fold it even one more time. And when we do that, and then we can fold it in half, when we do that, we end up with these lines. Step by step, we do the joints first. We start with the head first, then we do the joints of the body, so these circles here, and then we connect in between. The process is all the way through in the curriculum. Once they have completed it, some kids will go faster than others. You can let them put clothing on it. Sorry. So once they've gone through that, and some kids are faster than others, they can go ahead and put clothing on it. You can show them where clothing goes. But that's not the point of the lesson. Do not let them draw a face. A face is a later part of the lesson. So this is the body. The lesson, the warm-up we try to do is something called monkey see, monkey do. We pair up the kids to each other. The third lesson is titled the portrait. And we have them sit next to each other and make faces at each other, you know, what's angry, what does angry look like? And they just quickly sketch those with each other. So this is the warm-up. once they've kind of had some warming up and doing this monkey see, seeing what the muscles are doing, we talk about the muscles of the face, see what how that changes with different expressions. Then we move on to the full lesson. And the full lesson is to step-by-step draw a portrait. And again, just like the lesson with the proportions, we have certain areas where we draw the oval. We cut that oval in half. That's where the eyes go. All of those are done in the lesson plan. And first we do something that has no expression, no details. Just like you saw with the proportion figure. And then we go in and do things like the details of the eyes and the details of the nose. And in the lesson plan we have these. And the children get this too. And they can look at each other. We have mirrors. If you think your class can handle mirrors, because some classes are too squirrely to handle mirrors, they can do a self-portrait so they can look at themselves. If you think the mirrors are too much of a problem, this is where we let you guys make your own choice. They can pair up with their friend and do their friend. You know, look at each other. How does the eye look? Important thing is that kids will always draw the eye, and then they'll draw a full circle for the iris, and you don't ever have that. You actually have more like a little more than half a circle, and then the pupil. We talk about those proportions in looking at this and have them draw that. All of this again is kind of laid out like these are the points that I would say. Number one, definitely show up early and check out the scene. See if you have a couple minutes to observe. You need every minute of this workshop to do this workshop from beginning to end. So you need to start right when your time slot is supposed to start, not show up at that time. Second thing, you will always have some children who will be better at drawing and other children who will be very frustrated. About half the time I end up with a child, usually in the second lesson, who might be crying. It's great to have a partner to help you in this. You can do this alone, but it's always great to have a partner with you who can walk around and answer questions so that you can do the directive drawing, and they can help with classroom management issues, and also if we need that docent to help a student who's really being frustrated. Sometimes I had one kid who was the best drawer in the class, and she found this, she wasn't being perfect enough. Her drawing was amazing, by the way, but it wasn't perfect enough, and so she started crying. And so I had to sit down, and I had a little talk with her. I said, look, you know what, you guys are the luckiest kids in the world, because I'm an artist. I didn't get these lessons till college. You're getting them at 4th grade. You're getting them at a great age to keep practicing later. Practice makes perfect. You don't do it perfectly the first time. After that, she was fine. What other things? Classroom management is a big issue. Once you've got them all excited and everything, you need to bring them back down. But because they've got this, what I say, the squirrelies, they get the squirrelies out, they do pay attention after that. If I don't do that warm-up stuff, it's really hard to keep a kid for 30 minutes doing step-by-step direction. So, I think those are highlights, yeah.
What would be the best way as a trainee, because of course they would not be expected to do these straight off, what would be the best way to kind of, if you're interested in this drawing part, to be ready to help
I would
to do it?
Definitely say sign up as an assistant and go to the class as an assistant, because you won't be standing in front of the class and doing any drawing, and most of your assisting will be in handing tools and talking with the children. But then you see the class from start to finish as an assistant. So definitely, if you're interested in this, do it as an assistant first. You'll see that it's not that big of a deal once you've seen it as an assistant, and you'll be willing to jump right in. And I do say that this is a lot of fun because when we get to the point where we're almost done, when we've done that skeleton or whatever, and the kids get to be more creative with their drawings, they do some really fun things. You know, we get some sometimes we get one-eyed monsters or something like that, you know, and then they're having fun. But they learn that about the proportion of the body. They learn, and even in cartooning, when you're doing an animal as a character or as a space alien, they still have human proportions. And so they learn to use that mannequin on anything.
Yeah, and they're working on just an 8.5 by
They're
11.
working on 8.5 by 11 sheets. There are no erasers. They get pencils only. When they ask if they erase, it's important to demonstrate to them that they need to draw lightly, and then they can go back over darker later, because it's all sketchy. And again, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake because this is your first time doing it.
And I observed, and you did have a critique time, and you let them come up,
Yes.
or who wanted to, and they came up with the greatest things. And the other things I've heard is kids have taken done this class, and then later they've gone home and they did more and more and more, because you catch those couple kids that are really into it, you know.
It is a
But
class where you
introducing-
see a huge change in some children. I had one child who has been, I knew him for years because he was the same age as my son. He had some ADD issues, and he wasn't very communicative. You know, he couldn't communicate very well. I did this, the figure in proportion, and his mom later told me that he constantly started drawing the figure, and he was getting so good at it. And his mom said, I am so happy that he learned this because it seems like something finally clicked. Something finally clicked with him. He found something that he sort of found a niche.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he's a really good artist now. So it is very rewarding when you see